I want to make a point to say something. Like, dude, I am a cis het white male, and I'm gonna tell you straight up, I will advocate the fuck for fucking trans people because they go through fucking hell, and I've seen it firsthand with people I know. And god damn it, dude, like if I can do it and be in the position of privilege that I'm in, anybody can do it, and everybody should do it. You know, fucking trans people need to be able to like live peacefully without all the fucking stigma and all the bullshit that happens to them. There are oftentimes in my generation, right? In my generation, oftentimes that was their families disowning them and all sorts of shit, you know, culminating from that. All sorts of exploitation and bullshit that they had to deal with. You know, so like I saw that with people that I knew, that I cared about, that I still care about. And for that reason, like, I'm glad I did, because maybe that made me more sympathetic and understanding of their situations, you know? And I hope that other people can find their way to be that way too. Because like I said, I'm a cishet white male. I look like a fucking like butch type guy, you know? And I just want to make people fucking understand, like, everybody needs a place in this world. They all deserve a place. And fuck anybody who has a problem with who you are. Fuck them, because you're fucking beautiful just the way you are. Be you. Hey, breathe the bumblebee. Thanks, Jason. I'm a trans girl, and it makes me happy hearing that. Absolutely. You're in a safe place here with me. Like, mad support and love for you guys in the community. Like, I want you guys to thrive just like everybody else gets to thrive. You know, like, everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves the American dream. It doesn't matter. Like, any of these circumstances should never matter. Any of these immutable characteristics should not fucking matter. You are human, and you matter, and fucking nobody should take that away from you.
I'm going to talk about a truly disgusting article that was posted on the BBC News website on the 26th of October. That being, "We're Being Pressured into Sex by Some Trans Women," written by Carolyn Lowbridge. Now, hateful transphobic bigotry is very much the norm throughout most of the British news media, but for various reasons this article stands out as especially repulsive. This article attempts to make the case that cis lesbians are being sexually assaulted by predatory trans women on a level that goes beyond the actions of individuals. Cis lesbians as a group are in danger from trans women, is the point this article is trying to make. Now, of course, a member of any group of people can pressure or coerce someone into sex, but we cannot use that fact to tar the whole group with the same brush. Using the actions of an individual to discriminate against an entire group is, well, it's discrimination, isn't it? The BBC could just as well print "We're being pressured into sex by some cis lesbians" and use isolated incidents of people being sexually assaulted by cis lesbians to make the case that the lesbian community is inherently dangerous. Now, that would be ridiculous homophobic discrimination, and exactly as valid as this article. The BBC would not write the articles "We're being pressured into sex by some black men" or "We're being pressured into sex by some Jews," but it can get away with writing the exact same thing about trans women because of the media environment into which it's being released, which is an openly transphobic one. So I disagree with this article in conception. I think it is a
Can I just say something? I don't know that every single, like, person from the UK is extremely educated, but they speak so fucking intelligent. I love hearing them speak, because I feel like I can like stomach getting through all of what they have to say, because I can completely understand it. I don't know. You know, maybe there's a bias there for me with that, but like, I love the way they speak. I love the proper English. It rings so true in my ears. Yeah, I know that's probably a douchey ass thing to say, but I feel that way. Sorry.
Textbook case of bigoted discrimination, but it gets much worse, trust me. Now, for an article with this title, you might expect it would mainly be concerned with people being pressured into sex by trans women, but the article contains only 2 reported instances of trans women pressure.
Oh, and yes, Breathe the Bumblebee, you will always be welcome here. Absolutely, 100, all the time.
pressuring someone into sex. It's actually much more concerned with hypothetical scenarios or with differences of opinion within the LGBT community that have nothing whatsoever to do with trans women pressuring people into sex. For instance, it tells the story of a cis lesbian whose girlfriend wanted them to have a threesome with a trans woman, but she didn't want to, and they had an argument about that. Now, no trans woman is pressuring anyone here. They're not even involved in the story directly. This is something going on between two cis women. This story has no business being alongside someone saying, I was actually pressured into sex, as if those two things are equivalent. Now, in an attempt to prove that trans women pressuring people into sex is an actual phenomenon and not just a number of isolated incidents, the same as we would expect of any.
Right, said Rob, that's how the Brits get you. Yep, they get you sucked in. I can't help it. Even listening to Vivian talk, even though sometimes she can make me so mad because she monopolizes so much of a conversation. Like, because she speaks so well, it's like, okay, I'll just listen. It's cool. Like, it's all right, I'll listen. There's something commanding about it. I don't know how else to put it. There's something very commanding about it. Yeah, they call England, or like England proper at least, Turf Island, because it's so trans exclusionary radical feminist. They are very feminist, but they 100% exclude trans people from that. They're fucking hardliners on that, and their media portrays it that way. Newspapers, everything. They're pretty vitriolic about it. It's bad, dude. It's really bad. I feel bad for those people over there having to go through that shit because, as a matter of fact, we had a talk about this on one of the debates I was on, right? And we were talking about how that very thing, like the term Turf Island, and to use that the way that people use it as a colloquial for England, is so bad for the cause of trying to make change to that culture there. Because what it does is it's such a diminutive statement that it feels like there's not a possibility to make change, right? And if you just constantly hear that and you start to accept that, right, you internalize that, and then you realize, and then you start to think, well, that's just the way it's always going to be, right? No, you don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want to fucking instill that term in your head, because you don't want to think of that place like that. As soon as you do, you're projecting that whole mindset onto the movement that you're trying to create to stop that kind of shit. So, yeah, there's a big problem with that there. And yeah, that's the term that often is used for England, that they should not be using, because it makes it much harder to push for, trans rights there, because it fucking makes it seem like the efforts are going to be fruitless, So yeah, I would encourage people not to use that statement, but it is something that you'll hear commonly. Just note that the reason why is because for that very reason.
Group. The article cites a questionnaire distributed by the fringe transphobic hate group Get the L Out, which reported that of the 80 women who did respond, 56% reported being pressured or coerced to accept a trans woman as a sexual partner. Now, there are lots of problems with this questionnaire. Firstly, it specifically refuses to gender trans women correctly, using he and him throughout. Given that, and the fact that Get the L Out distributed this study via social media, gives rise to obvious bias issues, specifically in terms of who would respond to this clearly biased, hateful propaganda in the first place. But a bigger issue is what the questionnaire
Obi-Wan Kenobi's back in the house, yeah, boy!
Considers to be pressure or coercion. In the section of the findings which reports the 56% figure, it states most respondents reported being subjected to such rhetoric directly or indirectly, with the general feeling that it's online everywhere and relentless. Now, this is not trans women pressuring people into sex. This is some transphobes seeing trans acceptance on the internet and not liking that. They don't think that trans women are women. So when they see people online treating trans women as women, they take that as a personal attack. But it isn't. And we see a similar attitude in the section titled Deception. Several respondents discussed their experiences of deception while being approached by trans women they assumed to be women. They reported feeling betrayed and violated. So just trans women passing is being classed as deception here. They're taking it personally.
So a trans woman that is passing as a woman, as a cis woman, basically what they're saying is a trans woman that looks damn good, when they found out that they were trans, it made them feel fucking betrayed and violated. Why couldn't they just be like, she's a beautiful woman? Like, what's the fucking problem, you know?
They're acting like by itself a trans woman passing is an attack upon them. What is being included as pressure or coercion here is simply trans women existing. And we see a very clear indication of this when the questionnaire shares that awful quote by Janice Raymond comparing trans people's existence at all to the act of rape. And it is incredibly unfair to actual survivors of sexual assault to have their experiences categorized alongside things like "I didn't realize someone was trans," or "not enough people are being transphobic on the internet," or simply just "trans people exist." This is just hate.
This dude is based for saying this. He is so fucking right on the money. He's nailing it. He's fucking, you know, God damn it, dude. I just had to point that out, like, solid.
Speech very shoddily dressed up as a study, and it is utterly embarrassing that the BBC shared this as if it was legitimate. But to be clear here, even though this rubbish is clearly discriminatory and put out by an obviously biased group and pads what we can mockingly call its findings with utter irrelevancies, I am absolutely not casting doubt on any of the respondents who reported actual sexual harassment or coercion. All I will say is that firstly, we cannot use their individual experiences to discriminate against an entire group of people, and secondly, nobody at the BBC responsible for sharing the findings of this study cares at all about women being sexually assaulted. Carolyn Lowbridge does not care about women being sexually assaulted, except for how she can use that to attack trans people. And this is not something I say lightly. There is absolute proof here. You see, this article featured prominently as a source Lily Cade, an adult film performer who, quote, went by the label Porn Valley's Gold Star Lesbian because she only ever had sex with other women. Now, I dislike the very gatekeepy gold star lesbian phrase there, but leaving that aside, Cade gets quoted several times in the article, and there's also a big picture of her posing for the cameras there. So, trusted BBC source Lily Cade here, giving her thoughts about trans...
Ooh, Ormil coming in with some crazy-ass facts right now. Fuck, dude. If you're attracted, why does it matter? Number one. And number two, people are attracted to others based on looks, which are largely augmented in one way or another, right? Okay, so let's go through that, right? That's important, Ormil. How are looks augmented? Makeup, clothing, fucking. For men, it can be the same way, you know. It can be. If you're somebody that's balding, maybe you're using like, like a toupee or a fucking some sort of hairpiece or hair plugs, things like that. Like we all alter our image a little bit to look better in front of people that we want to see us as attractive, right? So why the fuck does it matter? Now I understand, like, maybe like clothes off, you decide that wasn't for me or it's not for me or whatever, then that's fine. You can make that decision, right? But that doesn't make you a victim, does it? Does that really make you a victim? Or does it just make you somebody that saw someone you were attracted to and maybe chose not to go through the sexual part of it? Maybe that wasn't what interested you. And that's not to say that you might not down the road, but it didn't happen to like be what you wanted at this moment, right? That doesn't make you a victim. That makes you somebody that was attracted to somebody that was beautiful, right? Or handsome. Why is that fucking... a bad thing. I've seen fucking gorgeous trans women. Absolutely beautiful trans women. They are beautiful. I don't know. I guess it's because people see us as a threat. And this is from Breathe the Bumblebee. Like a trans woman walk down the street. A guy gets attracted to her, but suddenly finds out she's trans. Oh no, that apparently means he's gay and has to protect his masculinity. I imagine it's similar to this. That's deep, Bree. Like, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, fragile sexuality. We definitely need to normalize having open conversations about what we're looking for in sex. Also normalize being attracted to someone who turns out not to be what you were expecting. I feel like it's okay to not want to be in a relationship or have sex with a trans person. The problem is when it turns hateful or violent. And that's from Obi-Wan Ginobili. I think that's a great point. Or Oma Billy. I think lots of women are hot. Doesn't change my sexuality. Yeah. You know. And that's okay. Like, fuck, man. Like, we're going to find the people that we connect with, you know. And you might surprise yourself. You never know, you know, like, I'm fortunate enough to be in a very good relationship with my partner. But you know, the way the dating world has changed, I don't know who I would end up with, you know, and like, I'm a pretty open cat. I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't call myself like pansexual or bisexual or anything like that, but you know, I don't know. You know, if I've met a feminine looking, really attractive trans person, I can't tell you, you know, I don't fucking know. It hasn't happened to me, you know, so I don't pass judgment, and I don't hold out for anything, you know. I don't know what the future holds, and I don't know who I'm going to be attracted to. I'm a lot more attracted to somebody's like personality and who they are internally than I am to who they are physically. Truthfully, like, I'm actually like, it's really hard for me to like be sexually involved with somebody that I don't have a like intellectual and mental connection with. That's usually chief for me. Like, that's really what I need. If I can't have a really intelligent conversation with you, I'm going to have a real hard time. Real quick, I just want to point out that Brad Pitt always looked fucking great, and I'm not really into masculine traits generally. I think I'm just acknowledging his charisma. I don't know. And I believe I'm a straight cis male through and through, LOL. Hey, I don't see anything wrong with like finding another male attractive and being like, dude, that's a good looking guy right there. Hell yeah. Maybe I want to model myself after his physique. Hey, dude, how did that guy get to look like that? That guy looks fucking great, dude. I want to look like that. Shit, yeah. You know, I think we need to spend less time like bagging on each other and more time fucking building each other up, right? And that means being able to say, dude, a dude looks fucking good. You know? The female looks good. I'm mad at you. You know when Elliot Page like did that shirtless photo, I thought fucking Michael Rappaport had the most real response to that, because he was just like, damn, he looks fucking great. He looks like most guys want to look. Six packs, abs, and everything. And he did. He looked fucking great, dude. He looked fucking great. Elliot Page came out looking like a fucking stud, dude. Like, no shit. Yeah, and happy too. He looked good and happy. It was fucking great, man. His response to that was so good.
The Eliminator from American Gladiators, mixed with all the cool laser parts from Entrapment. You know, the Catherine Zeta-Jones vehicle.
Yeah, it's a classic. But how do we know this is going to work?
Because it was designed by the best. Catherine Zeta-Jones, she dips beneath the lasers. Ooh.
Okay. Thanks. You have a crush on your boyfriend, and that's awesome. Dude, if you can't have a crush on your boyfriend, who else can you have a crush on? That's love, man. That's real love right there, right? That's what we're talking about, baby. Let's do that shit. Let's do that real love shit. You know, that's where I'm at with shit. We need to spend more time concentrating on the goodness in people, on the beauty in people, you know? And that's the message I want to send to people. I want you guys to be uplifted when you leave this shit at night, you know? I know I get heated and shit, but this is where it happens right here. These conversations make a big fucking difference. I'm so glad all of you guys are here with me tonight. I really am. These conversations are important, and I'm glad I'm having them with you guys.
Women pressuring people into sex. Now, there's an issue with this, and that is Lily Cade is someone who is accused of and has admitted to a series of sexual assaults. Multiple people in the industry Lily Cade worked in reported that she sexually assaulted them, and this is something that was known about long before this article came out. So what is Lily Cade doing here, being given a platform by the BBC to share her thoughts in an article about women being pressured into sex? If the BBC cared about women being pressured into sex, why not mention that their source has a history of sexually assaulting women? So we can say, maybe they didn't know. Maybe Carolyn Lowbridge, when writing this article, didn't bother to Google the names of the people she was talking to, or maybe just nobody informed her of the allegations against Lily Cade. Except that's not true, and we can prove it. And to do so, we first need to correct an outright lie in the article. So, in the section of the article titled, "Who Else Was Approached?", Carolyn Lowbridge writes, "In addition to Veronica Ivy, I contacted several other high-profile trans women who have either written or spoken about sex and relationships. None of them wanted to speak to me, but my editors and I felt it was important to reflect some of their views in this piece." Now, this is not true. So, Chelsea Poe is a high-profile trans woman who has spoken extensively about sex and relationships, being interviewed in the Huffington Post, Glamour, Slate, and so on. Chelsea Poe claims that she was interviewed by Carolyn Lowbridge for the BBC article, but that her contribution was cut. She also claims that she informed the BBC about the sexual assaults carried out by Lily Cade, but that, to quote a Pink News article about this incident, there was not much of a reaction from the journalist. Now, we know that this interview took place. Chelsea Poe tweeted about talking to the BBC and Carolyn Lowbridge in September of last year, and the BBC itself confirmed to Pink News that Lowbridge interviewed Poe, but that, quote, her contribution was judged not to be relevant to the story. Her contribution, which included informing the BBC about the multiple sexual assaults carried out by their source, Lily Cade, was judged not to be relevant. Now, firstly here, the BBC has been caught in an outright falsehood, obviously. The article states, today, it still says this, that no high-profile trans women wanted to talk to Carolyn Lowbridge, while neglecting to mention that they did. They were interviewed, and then she cut them. And now she's pretending that nobody wanted to talk to her, that she couldn't find a willing participant to give an alternate viewpoint. And this is just lying. Just open lying. Secondly, this article is purportedly about women.
Do you see how this systemic fucking bigotry ends up turning into exploitation? Ends up turning into to censure? Like, they're quieting these people, dude. They're quiet. They're going and acting like they're doing the work, right? And they're acting like they're going through the motions and they're doing the fucking interviews. But if they don't present them to the public, it's a fucking dog shit fucking story. It doesn't mean fuck all. It has no relevance because they're cutting out everything that could matter from any of the sides that oppose what they're trying to relay, which was basically that trans people, trans women were pressuring lesbians into sex. I'm calling fucking bullshit, and I'm glad that Sean is too. Because fuck that, dude. They seriously just took the fucking interviews from those people and dumped them completely so that they could present their narrative and say, oh, well, we blah, blah, blah. We interviewed these people. This is what the problem is with fucking some of media. And that's why you've got to be careful. That's why you got to watch out. And that's why you got to look at several different sources for your fucking media for this very fucking reason.
women feeling pressured into sex, and you were told one of your main sources is someone who repeatedly sexually assaulted women. How could that not be relevant? It couldn't be more relevant. It seems obvious to say, but if Carolyn Lowbridge or anyone at the BBC responsible for this article cared at all about women being sexually assaulted, they never would have given a platform to someone who they knew, they were told, sexually assaulted women. The only problem for them here is that Lily Cade isn't trans. Her sexual assaults can't be weaponized to attack trans people, so her sexual assaults don't count. They're not relevant.
Right. They presented her as the forefront of a lot of this shit. All the while she's sexually assaulting other women. But because, like he's saying, because she's not trans, right? They're definitely not going to tell those stories, but they will keep the part of the stories that validate their claims, right? They didn't pull that out until later. They didn't pull that I'm reading about it right now as I'm watching this. They didn't pull that contribution out until fucking later. That's fucking disgusting. On its face. It's fucking disgusting. They were making an indictment of a whole population of people over bullshit told by somebody who was doing the very same thing that they were accusing trans people of.
Lily Cade's actions speak only to her behaviour for some reason and not any group she belongs to. Lily Cade is afforded the dignity of being considered responsible for her own actions, not like those trans women who must be judged as a group for the actions of individuals. And of course, there is the additional indignity done to the anonymous survivors of sexual assault quoted in the article who were made to share a platform alongside someone who sexually assaulted women. Now, it might be hard to believe this, but this story gets even worse. You see, Lily Cade used the spotlight given to her by the BBC. She used the attention this article generated for her to publish a deranged genocidal manifesto, seriously, calling for the murder of all trans women, which included naming specific trans women she wanted to personally, quote, lynch. And perhaps most pertinent for the topic at hand today, Lily Cade didn't just make death threats, but also rape threats against the families of trans people. Now, after several days of trying to ignore that this happened...
So, their source made death threats and rape threats to the families of trans people? This Gold Star lesbian that never wanted to be with the male and has never been with the male or a trans person, now all of a sudden is making sexual assault threats against, rape threats against them. What the fuck, man? And this is their source. This is a BBC source. This is a mainstream news outlet. This is the mainstream news outlet for fucking the UK.
Happened. The BBC caved to pressure and removed Lily Cade's contribution from the article. And the editorial note they included with the article reads as follows. We have updated this article published last week to remove a contribution from one individual in light of comments she has published on blog posts in recent days, which we have been able to verify. We acknowledge that an admission of inappropriate behaviour by the same contributor should have been included in the original article. So firstly, note the lack of apology for platforming a rapist who writes serial killer manifestos. But also, what's with the euphemisms here? In light of comments she published, I guess that's what we're calling explicit death threats now, comments, and inappropriate behaviour. Now, the article itself uses terms like rape and sexual assault when attributing those things to trans women, so why did they only talk about what Lily Cade did euphemistically? And an admission of inappropriate behaviour should have been included? Apparently it would have been fine to platform Lily Cade if only they'd included an admission of her, quote, inappropriate behaviour. And how would that work? What would they have said, even? Lily Cade, admitted rapist, has some concerns about women being pressured into sex. What sense would that make? No, including Cade at all was wrong, the BBC. You do not get to weasel out of this. You must and will take this article down and give a full apology for it. Not just for platforming Lily Cade, but for the outright lies, the terrible research, and the disgusting, bigoted premise. Now, you might notice that I'm a little annoyed about this, and I admit it, I am. This is awful. The BBC is supposed to be better than this. It isn't, clearly, but it's supposed to be. This article will be deleted and apologised for eventually, depending on how stubborn the BBC wants to be about it, which at the moment is very stubborn. But before it is deleted, I feel compelled to speak up about it. I don't like that this is happening in the BBC. I don't like that this is happening in my country. And I want to be able to say, in the future, that I said something about it at the time. So what I'm going to do, in addition to making this video, is submit a complaint to the BBC. And I would encourage you to also make a complaint, only if you feel compelled to do so, of course. And we can do it together right now, actually. So the BBC is a worldwide service, and they accept complaints from anywhere, so don't worry if you're outside the UK. I'll include a link in the video description to the complaints page,
We're doing
which
this
looks
shit.
like this. And then I'm going to click the Make a Complaint button there, which takes us to this page. From the drop-down menu under What is your complaint about, I'm going to select BBC website or apps, and then BBC News website. When it asks for the URL, I'm going to paste the URL of the awful news article, which I'll include below. Then, are you contacting us about a previous complaint? No, and
Here's the complaint
so select the best
page.
category to describe
Do
your
this
complaint.
shit.
And honestly, it could be anything here. Bias,
If you guys want
factual
to
error, offense, poor
feel
quality.
empowered to do
But I'm
something
gonna select
small, this is
factual
one
error
way
or
that you
inaccuracy
activate.
here. You see, my gut is telling me to focus on the one particular lie about no prominent trans women wanting to talk to the author of the article. It is an obvious falsehood, it is very easy to express, and it's impossible to refute. The BBC
Oh shit, hang on, let me get the right link.
honestly here in any way except to further amend the article to remove this lie. Anything else they say in response will make them look even more
Here's the link. Here's
I
the
will
proper
include
link
text
to
of my
the
complaint in
article.
video
This is to the
description,
article,
but would
guys.
encourage you to,
The
only
first
if you
one's
feel
right.
like
The
it,
first
of
one's
course.
right for the
Complain
complaint.
about
Here's the one
any
for the
or
article.
all of the various problems with the article.
Go
And
do
maybe you
this.
could share
Go
your complaints
do
in
this.
Comments to perhaps inspire
Go do
people
this.
in forming their own
This is part of
complaints. I'm also
activating.
going
This
to
is part
select
of the
that I do
activism I
want a
talk
response
about.
to my complaint
Here's us
because I
doing
want to see
something,
what they
being in
say in
action.
their
It's a
defense
small
here.
thing,
Now,
but
before
it
I go
helps.
today, I just want to address
Fucking do
one
it. Fucking do it. Fucking do it. I gave you the links. If we go ahead and do a VOD for this, I'll make sure that the links are included in the VOD. Do this shit. Go and do this. Don't let them keep this fucking shit-ass article up. All it does is hurt people. This does nothing to generate any positivity in the world. Do it. Do it. You got this. You guys got this. You can do it. I believe in you.
Response that I know this video will get. You see, the article qualifies its criticism of trans women by saying some trans women, a minority of trans women, and so on. So they can't be being biased because they're saying it's a problem specific to some trans women, not all trans women. This is a cowardly tactic intended to provide cover for the BBC while it shares the messages of anti-trans hate groups. The BBC is being biased regardless of these cowardly qualifiers. As we've seen today, some cis lesbians, like Lily Cade, pressure people into sex, but the BBC are not writing that article, are they? Of course, if Lily Cade was trans, she would be featured prominently here as one of the trans women pressuring people into sex, but because she isn't trans, Lily Cade gets quietly cut from the story. So I don't buy these qualifiers. I don't think they're meant honestly. If they were meant honestly...
Okay, so there's two links. One is a link to the complaints section of the BBC. The next link is a link... Now, there's one in there that I fucked up on, so don't... The one that's got the ellipses after it, don't click on that one. That one's not going to take you anywhere. There's another one that I posted. Okay, so what you got to do is you got to go to the complaints site and fill out the complaints form with the article that you want to complain about. I've linked the article below as well. Now, what you want to do is just let them know, dude, this is dishonest journalism. It's fucking crap journalism. It's transphobic. It's predatory. So, you know, let them know your thoughts. This is an easy activation moment, you guys. Like, easy to do. As a matter of fact, I'll just do it with you guys right now. Let's do it on the air, right? Let's make the complaint. Make a complaint. What's my complaint about? Website article. So we're going to select website article. BBC News website. The URL. I'm going to go ahead and link here. I'm not contacting it about a previous complaint. I'm going with factual error or inaccuracy. And I'm calling this transphobic disinformation. That's what I'm calling it. So this is what I put. I'll just copy what I put in the chat. If you want to use it, you can use it. Do you want a response? Do you require a response to your complaint? Yes. Every single one of you guys, make sure that on this part you put yes. Because if they have to respond, that means they have to read it. Okay? And that makes a difference. It's the difference between whether it goes in front of somebody's eyes or goes in the dustbin. Boom. Done, guys. There's your first segment of how do you even activate. One step at a time, guys. One step at a time. If we can light a fire under this fucking journalistic institution's ass, let's fucking do it. Thank you so much for participating, Obi-Wan Ginobili. Thank you so much, Bree. I'm glad that you fucking put that in there. I think it's important for, you know, obviously for you. You want some self-advocacy as well, you know. So fuck yeah, dude. Like, we're doing this shit together, you know. Ormil got it in. Damn, dude, we went fucking to town, man. Hell yeah. Fucking love you guys for doing that, man. You're helping people in this moment. It's a small thing, but every little bit counts. And you know, Sean's right. You gotta put your voice out there, man. You gotta make sure people hear it.